Hello, hello, good morning. I'm super happy to be here. It's Wednesday, it's 8 a.m., and here I am for my live Q&A, which is a weekly Q&A that I do basically for questions that I get from my clients and any students, and then I share it here live with this community so that we all can benefit. And I've heard from so many of you recently, and it's just been so touching to just talk and see where everyone's at and you're going through and just so many things. And right now, this week is actually the last day today to enroll in the program Become Emboldened. If you haven't heard of it yet, Become Emboldened is a program for women who are already taking a break from alcohol and really want to solidify this a new identity for themselves as they also go after and find their greater purpose and what this next chapter is going to be for them unfolding in front of them, right? And today's the very last day to enroll. So, our group starting this week, our first coaching call is tomorrow. And so if this is kind of you've been on the fence about it, I would love to meet you. I would love to have you join. But I've been hearing from so many of you, and I think I keep hearing the same theme coming up, is this idea that you're made for more. You know that there's a greater purpose inside of you. You know that there's something else you're meant to do. And maybe you are, have never really found it before. Maybe you have different purposes in your life, and that's totally okay too, right? I don't believe we just have this one purpose in our life. It's almost as if it functions maybe in phases, like we have a purpose for our 20s and 30s, and then we have a purpose for this phase of our life and that phase. So it's not to overwhelm us and be like, oh my God, I have to find my one purpose on this planet. But really, I think right now is this junction that if you've been taking a break from alcohol, that is a purpose in itself, right? Like, it's not for nothing. You're not taking a break from alcohol just to remove a little bit of pain of your life or just to improve your sleep just a little bit. It serves a much bigger purpose. It serves a purpose for you to get to know yourself better, get to know what you really want, and then have the confidence to actually go after that thing that you really, really want, which could look so differently from this person to that person to me to you, right? And, this idea that you're made for more, this idea that you're really feeling like, wow, I feel like there's just new ideas coming to me and I just feel like a little bit more confident. And my brain is also allowing me to think in more possibilities than ever before. Before I was so limited, before I felt so stuck, before I just felt like I was living such a cyclical existence. Maybe now you're really feeling the sense of possibility. But yet you don't really know what that is going to look like. You have no idea what to do next. You don't know what your purpose is. And so if you've ever felt the same way, and I know I felt like this for a long time, right? If you've ever felt like you don't know what your purpose is, then this is the Q&A for you. So there's this idea that, our purpose maybe just comes to us, right? It comes to us when we're younger. So for example, I actually did know I always wanted to write a book. And why? Because I'm a huge reader. I really always loved reading ever since I was a little girl. And so I always looked up to people who wrote books. I always looked up to authors, and I dreamed of one day becoming one myself, right? But outside of that, like back when I graduated college, it wasn't like, all right, now I'm going to put my writing shoes on and be a professional writer. Like, there wasn't really like the job path in that, right? And so I didn't pursue it whatsoever. In fact, I stopped writing by the time I graduated college and grad school. And so, it really never seemed like a realistic career for me. It didn't really seem like something I could actually do in my life. So I didn't do it, right? And I got a career, started my career in the mortgage industry first, and then I moved over to the higher education industry. And it just seemed like that was something you did for fun or maybe as a hobby or the side thing. I never really thought it could be a career. And so, this idea of like, what am I supposed to do with my life? I had no idea. I kind of fell into each one of my jobs, you could say, like especially even in higher ed. I kind of just fell into it. Like, I found a job there and I just slowly started to kind of get into that world. But it was never with any sense of like intentionality. It was never with any sense of decision that this was the career that was meant for me or that was my life's purpose. So I honestly, if you would have asked me 5 years ago what my purpose is, I had no idea. I had no idea. And I think we get stuck in this idea that we're supposed to know. We're supposed to know, and if we didn't know since we were a little child, then we're doomed, right? And obviously, too, you've probably been in my shoes where whatever you want to do, even if you have a clue about it, like for me, how it was with writing, you don't actually see a possibility forward with that. Like you still have to have a job that pays for the bills and the mortgage. And so it's so hard to see a way through. Like, how would I ever actually do that? That seems just so ethereal, so like a nice idea, but hello, like, most of us have corporate jobs. We have to go into the job market. There's just a real world out there, Caroline. I can't just travel all the time or something like that, right? And I know we can often get stuck in really not knowing, again, what our deeper calling is, but then also really get stuck in how the hell would my deeper calling ever take care of me? How would it ever actually make a livelihood, right? And I think these thoughts, we get so stuck in them. We get so stuck in them and that we don't move forward. And so if you have a feeling that you're made for more, but you don't know what that next step is, and every idea you think of is just met with, well, that will be too hard, or that's not ever gonna, make money, or whatever it is, this is for you. So in my work with clients and in my work in Become Emboldened, we don't always start with knowing what you want. And in fact, I have a theory, and this is why I marry these two things and why I'm so passionate about it, is that alcohol actually prevents us from knowing what we want. Alcohol numbs our brain. It numbs our connection to our deeper intuition. It numbs our connection to our soul. It numbs our emotions. Even if you don't relate to numbing the connection with your soul, scientifically, it is numbing your emotions. It is numbing your thoughts and beliefs. It is numbing a lot, and it is literally cutting off your ability to really know what you want. On top of the numbing, alcohol also takes up a lot of brain space. Even if you're not like, ooh, when am I going to get my next drink? The brain is always preoccupied with it. It's like a problem that it wants to solve. So it's like, will I drink tonight? Will I not? Even when you're taking a break from alcohol, you're still thinking about alcohol. You're still like, well, what about that vacation? We're going to the Bahamas. What am I going to do? It's all inclusive. Your brain is still preoccupied with alcohol. And so in so many ways, we don't know what our purpose is because alcohol is literally blocking our channel to know that. And so why I actually work with people to not only help them change their relationship with alcohol, but then also find their greater purpose is that the first step is needed to do the second step, right? The first step is needed to remove those mental blocks around alcohol, the time and the numbing to be able to find your greater purpose. And so in Become Emboldened, we don't just work on finding your greater purpose. We actually make sure that we are working through the residual beliefs and romanticism and all the blocks that alcohol is still taking up space. Because as long as alcohol is taking up space in the brain, it's going to be so hard to connect with what you really want. And so just understanding that that's the journey, that's the process. If you're feeling stuck, it's okay. It's normal. In fact, I was stuck for so long and really alcohol was the culprit. So if you're not yet taking a break from alcohol, I highly recommend it. Our next dry boot camp starts in July. Please sign up on the wait list. You'll get notified right away when we open the doors so you can get started. And if you're already taking a break from alcohol, it doesn't mean that alcohol isn't still taking up a lot of brain space. Let's really solidify and cement your new alcohol-free identity so that alcohol never even registers anymore. And that beautiful mental energy you have is literally used to discover what you really want and then have the audacity to go after it. And, I just love and care about this so much because I think that if us women, if we really stood in what we really wanted, if we really knew that, and then we had the confidence to go after it, I think we would live in a completely different world than the world we live in today. I think we have the power to change the world. In fact, the Dalai Lama is famous for saying that the Western woman is going to change the world. And I think that we will only be able to do that when we step into our power, when we step into what's most important to us, and we actually remove the blocks and the distractions out of that. So that's why it's kind of this two-part process. That's why I have my programs around Dry Boot Camp and Become Euphoric. But then the step 2 is Become Emboldened, because you've already removed some of the alcohol blocks and you're not drinking right now, but there's still more work to do to completely remove it from your brain. I mean, for example, right now, literally for the last 4 years, alcohol is meaningless to me. Alcohol holds absolutely no meaning in my brain. When I look at alcohol, all I see is a beverage in a glass that's toxic and causes headaches and makes people feel stuck in their lives. It doesn't hold any illusions over me. It doesn't have any romanticism over me. When people, paraded around in fancy TV shows and stuff like that, I see through it. It's meaningless to me. And Karen, I'm so glad you could join today, and I'm glad that the description and analogy is super helpful. And so that's why I really work in these phases of like, first, let's remove the blocks around alcohol, and then we can discover what your greater purpose is. And in Become Emboldened, we do a mix of both, right? It's meant for women who are already taking a break so that we don't have to work on just the fundamentals of how to do that. I have other programs around that, but that's really how the order of operations can work so that you can actually really figure it out. Okay, so let's say even that we remove the blocks of alcohol, we clear up the mental space, we really give you a thriving almost like kettle to work from, where your ideas just really get to swim and you get to know yourself. It still might feel like you're not sure what to do. You might not know what your purpose is yet. And that's, again, normal, because there is so much clarity to be done. There's so much different ways of asking questions and doing soul searching and doing growth work that I think is so important. And we try to do this alone. And when we do it alone, we basically don't do it. When we try to do soul searching alone, it's like the last thing on our list. And so in Become Emboldened, not only do we obviously remove that romanticism for alcohol, but we give space for soul searching. We actually give space to ask the deeper questions of what you really want. And there's all these different creative ways after working with many clients, after myself being in different programs, after, all just the knowledge that we've garnered, we have all these really creative ways on helping you do the soul searching, from very fun things like personality quizzes and different just internal guidance system like modalities that you can learn about, to really carving the space for you to, change some of your own beliefs about yourself so that then you can actually believe that what you want is possible. Because even if you know what you want, let's say you want to write a book, for example, even if you know that you already want that, if you don't change your beliefs about yourself, if you don't believe that you can do it, if you don't believe that, it's possible for you, if you don't feel like you're good enough, it's not going to happen, right? Like, it has to start with us. It has to start with a deep self-trust, self-belief, self-confidence to actually go after what you want. And this is what we build up and Become Emboldened, this deeper confidence in you. And we're really using the same process we can use around changing your beliefs around alcohol to change the beliefs around you. And really being in a place open to receive support like that so that you can really start to see infinite possibilities instead of infinite limitations, right? And so changing your own sense of self-trust and self-belief is really big. We go into deep root causes in Become Emboldened on like, yes, we all drink because society told us to, but why was it so easy to make that a pattern in our lives? And I think it really goes down to really deep self-limiting beliefs. So we go over those deep root causes so that we can heal them. So even if alcohol's not in the picture right now, those self-beliefs aren't sabotaging you in the next way, and then the next way, and then the next way, right? We also are going to talk about, when it comes to changing and finding your purpose and changing your beliefs about yourself, we're really going to talk about this idea of fear versus faith and how to really cultivate a relationship with fear versus faith. And I think even joining the program is the best way to really declare, I'm going to take a leap of faith. I'm actually going to step out of my comfort zone and do something new and different, right? But we actually really work with that in the program because guess what? Everything you want to do will come with a dose of fear. Everything. In fact, if it didn't come with a dose of fear, it probably means that it's not really going to be that fulfilling for you. Do you know what I mean? Like, the things we want the most are always unknown. And so if it's unknown, it's unfamiliar. If it's unfamiliar, we're a little scared about it because we've never done it before. Every next growth stage in your life will come with that unknown territory. I mean, that's the whole point of growth, is that you haven't been there before. You're growing into it. It's always going to come with fear. And so really renegotiating our relationship with fear is going to be important too. Then we spend time on really like learning on how to tap into your internal guidance system and, really developing ways to ask yourself better questions and really hone in on okay, what am I interested in? What am I passionate about? What did I used to be passionate about when I was younger? Oftentimes that can be a clue, even if it's not what your younger self thought it would be, it can often be a clue. What social causes pull at my heart? What kind of expertise have I garnered? Like if I, and just really asking questions, especially the ones that we've done already and Discover Your Purpose workshop on, like, if literally anything is possible, what would I do? Not what I think is possible, but what I want to do. Because trust me, when we do what we love, that's when we're most successful. I don't really even believe that we can be successful if we're not doing what we love, because if we hate what we do, we carry this energy with it that's not really great and positive and isn't really going to bring that abundance to us, right? Something will always be missing. Something will always be off. And, really then understanding that you have value, that you have a gift to share, that no matter who you are, what you've experienced in your life, you have so much wisdom and so much expertise literally to share back with someone else who hasn't gone through the thing you've gone through or hasn't learned the solution yet. And so we're going to hone in on really recognizing the value you already have. And yes, obviously this works really well if you want to launch a business, right? Like really determining what your value is and then sharing that gift with the world. But don't get me wrong, you don't have to want to be an entrepreneur to join this program. Sometimes the value that we have to offer works so well in a traditional, corporate or otherwise institutional setting. Sometimes it's really the intrapreneur, the one who creates new projects or new initiatives or new ideas and visions in their own company that really feels a lot of fulfillment from that. You don't have to go off and try your own new thing, right? Like even finding fulfillment by finding a better suited position for you or a better suited role is huge, right? And sometimes people want to be the one that's doing it all, and sometimes people don't. Sometimes people want to be like a number two. So, even if you don't feel like entrepreneurship is your answer, but maybe you want to work in a more fulfilling role or job, like we will have roadmaps and guidance to that too, right? So that you have a path forward. I mean, I'm working right now with two incredible women who literally like just found me and tapped me on the shoulder and said, I love your work. Can we help you with your company? And I'm like, yes, please, And so like, it's so incredible how like now they are not just working on, whatever's paying the bills, but really something that they care about. And I know that you can find those things you care about too, and you don't necessarily have to be the one to create them. So, discovering your strengths, like really then creating this action plan of like, we removed all the romanticism for alcohol and we're really working on your self-beliefs. We're doing guiding, prompts and exercises and questions and ways of thinking about what you want, what your passions are, what your value is, what your strength is. And then once you do determine what it is that you want to do next, you don't have to declare it's my biggest purpose. You just have to have the feeling that this is next for me and I want to pursue this. And so, you might already be there. You might already know that I want to pursue a blog, for example, or I want to pursue writing a book, or I want to pursue, becoming a coach, or I want to pursue getting a new position with my company, or I want to pursue a lifestyle where I can travel more. How do I do that? So maybe you already came up with the idea that you want, and then we create an action plan around it. And not only do we do that in the group coaching sessions, which are 3 times a month, different times that we have them so that it really can cater to like most time zones and really find, a time that works for you, but also to have expertise from the guest experts that are coming in who have literally done the things that you want to do. And then with me, right? So you have the group coaching sessions with me, and you also have a private one with me to use anytime throughout the program to really develop your roadmap. I'm not going to just like throw you to the sharks and be like, all right, you want to write a book? Good luck, like here's one piece of advice and go for it. Like we are actually going to give you the roadmap to do that. All the things I've learned, all the things that, our guest experts have learned, all the ways that we can grow together. And lastly, you're going to be in a community that's actually supporting you to do this. For me, the accountability and community and really having mentorship is like the biggest thing that's really made a huge difference in me being able to go after my goals and dreams. Because on my own, I just do the things that feel urgent every single day. And the things that feel urgent every single day are the things that feel urgent for you too. Take care of this, do that, do the little things that don't actually add up to the things we really want. And so it's almost as if when I am in my own mastermind program where I get my support, it's this beautiful gift of self-love to say that yes, your dreams matter, and yes, you deserve to devote time to them, and yes, you deserve to get support. And being open to receive that has actually been a huge change for me in my business. So that's really a summation of how that process works. And if you're really in the boat of like, I know that some feeling is coming up for me. I want more. I know that there's something more I could give in this world. I know that I don't want to die with all of these regrets, but you're not sure what it is. I want you to know that there's this process, there's the framework, there's really the time and space that we've developed and cultivated in this program to help you figure that out. Now, I can't just share like, here's the secret to discovering your purpose in like a 5-minute thing, because it's so unique and it's not just do this one thing and then you'll know, right? And we hosted a really cool workshop, I think it was 2 weeks ago now, on ditch alcohol and discover your purpose, which really put a lot of what I do know into that. But we go so much deeper and so much more personalized in the program, right? And I think getting clarity on what you really want, I think honestly really figuring out what your next chapter is and what your greater purpose is, it's going to be the most important work of your life. You know, I mean, I mentioned it in an email yesterday, but there's this incredible book called The 5 Regrets of the Dying, where a nurse really put together the most common things she heard from people who were dying on their deathbed of what they regret in their life. And that actually spurred studies, like actual empirical studies about what people regret most when they're dying. And the number one thing was regretting that they didn't go for their dreams and live out their full potential. And I don't want you to ever feel stuck with that regret either. And I know now, even if I stopped today, even if nothing else in my life happened, even if I completely stopped working on my business and my books and my dreams, even right now at this point, I know that I won't regret what I've already done. I know that I will be so proud of myself for what I've done so far in achieving my dreams and living out my full potential. And it all stemmed from really saying that, yes, this matters. Yes, this deserves to be worked on. Yes, I'm going to be in group programs and get the mentorship and the support and the space and time to really work on it. And I would never regret that for a second in the day, because it's led to so much more fulfillment and obviously so much more impact in the world, and really doing my special gift that was meant to be shared with other people, really stepping into that purpose. And I think your purpose lies in stepping into your greater gift too. So if you're interested in honing that gift and figuring out what it is, in really working through the steps to get the clarity and the confidence, most importantly, it's really the confidence that holds us back, the lack of it, I invite you to join Become Emboldened. It's the last day to enroll, so you have until midnight tonight. I would not wait that long. I would join now if you're interested and this is calling for you. We have the pay in full option, but we also have payment plans, guys. So you can join for 4 payments of $299 or even 8 payments of $150. $150 for me is 2 restaurant meals a month. Like, it's more doable than you think, and it's worth it, because this is about your dreams. This isn't about me or my stuff or anything like that. We're set, you know, we don't need to make any more money here. It's about you. It's about your dreams. It's about your potential that you are fulfilling and claiming and stepping into, and recognizing the importance of that you deserve. You deserve to receive the support and guidance and mentorship on fulfilling your bigger dreams. You deserve that. You deserve that more than anything. I hope you have a great rest of your day. I hope this was helpful, and I can't wait to see you next week.